when the friend Sam first gifted me the Steam Deck, well, initially I was legitimately dumbfounded. It's speechless. I could not fathom what he had done. I was just looking at him just like an idiot, going like, what? I don't understand. What is this? I can't believe you've done this. Because getting me a Steam Deck is just insane, just ridiculous. But not only that, he didn't just get me a Steam Deck, which is ridiculous enough. He also gifted me the ability to play Sludge Life as and when I please, whenever I like. I can and have played it on the toilet. I've played Sludge Life whilst taking a big shit. And it's been glorious. It's been bliss. I can't think of much more in my life in recent years that I'm more thrilled by than the fact that I can play Sludge Life while shit is falling out of my asshole into a toilet, making the funny ploop, ploop sounds. Whilst I'm walking around in the sludge going... and out of my asshole is going... It's ridiculous that he gave me that gift. But one of the first thoughts I had, and I expressed this to Sam, was amazing. This is the next couple of podcast episodes covered at least. I can show it now. I can show people what the fuck I'm talking about now, which is another gift that he gave, was that I can, and now have, shared Sludge Life with everyone else. And how fucking good is that I've been able to do that? And I'm glad. See, because, well, I thought, I want to do at least one episode looking at Sludge Life 1 and another episode looking at together the Big Mud Sessions demo and Sludge Life 2. And that's exactly what I did, and I'm glad I did. Because you might recall I had a bit of trepidation, shall we say, about whether or not to put out the second one, because I was a bit like, well, who's really watching it? Who cares? Who cares about me playing Sludge Life 2? Me cares. I cares about me playing Sludge Life 2 and showing people that I care about Sludge Life 2, because I care about you all. I can't always make that fact clear and known. I can't talk to everyone all the time. I try to respond to people, but it's difficult. But I care about you all. You all matter. You matter to me, and you matter to the world at large. Maybe you don't matter to your stupid racist parents, but you matter to me. And I'm glad that you are around and that you exist and that you make my numbers go up on YouTube. As a joke. I mean, it's part of the truth. It's not the only bit of the truth. It's within the truth of me being glad that you exist. Also exists a small little bit which says, because of you all, my YouTube numbers go up a bit. And I'm glad for that. Anyway, I was happy that I did decide to do the second video. I put it out, and I'm glad I did. Because now I get to watch it, because I watched my own shit. I care about me playing Sludge Life and making the video about me playing Sludge Life. And I also care enough to watch a video of me playing Sludge Life and sharing it and talking about it. Because I like it so much. It means that much to me. And I like my content. I make the sort of shit I want to watch and I want to look at. And so sometimes I watch it and I look at it. Sometimes, and there's even recently, there are times where I will legitimately, I say that a lot as if it makes things mean more than they actually do. I will occasionally scroll through my Instagram feed, on my page rather, my own Instagram page, and look at all my art and just be like, there's some really fucking good art here. Usually it's similar to YouTube where someone might leave a comment on something saying, oh, hey, this is really good, or what the fuck is this, or what are you talking about here? And I'll go and look at the thing to see what the fuck it is they're talking about. And, it might be a reel or a drawing or something that someone's commented on, going, oh, fuck, this is so cool, this reminds me of something. And I'll go, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'll go and have a look. And I go, oh, I see what they mean. Yeah, it is a thing and a thing. And then I'll just keep scrolling through my art and be like, oh, and this is good, and this is good, and that's, oh, I'm so good. Oh, my art's amazing. I'm brilliant. I'm fucking brilliant. Which, frankly, how blessed am I that, not all the time, but often I'm able to do that with my own artwork. Because I know as an artist, you don't always like your own work. I don't always like my own work, but sometimes I really fucking do. And I make work that I'm genuinely happy with and proud of. And I can look through it all and go, look at all this fucking shit I've made. Look at this shit. It's fucking good. Why am I not making more of a living off of this shit? I should be happy for what I've got, but fucking come on. Well, I know why. It's because I'm bad at business, but all of that is to say, I very self-aggrandizingly jerk off to my own podcast episodes, especially when they involve Sludge Life, and that makes me happy that I can do that. And, it's entirely possible that there's multiple, maybe even many people out there going, fuck off, fucking draw something, talk about art, do something I like. And that's fine. And the Sludge Life is done. The videos of Sludge Life are done for now. I've got those out of the way. For now. I did say for now, and I meant for now, because until the 6 or 7 hour long in-depth video essay comes out talking about every single minor detail of Sludge Life, looking at every tiny little bit of it, every reference, every inspiration, its impact, its influences, what it means to people, the fans, the people who don't like it, all of it. Talking with the creators, getting their input, answering questions that I've had about it for hours and hours and hours. Which is funny to be like, haha, yeah, next up it's a 6 hour video all about Sludge Life. But as a video I do actually want to make. Well, kind of. It's a video I want to exist. I want that to be a thing. But it doesn't, and I don't know who else is going to make that. I wanted there to be a Sludge Life art book, but there wasn't one. So with photos and all, I made one. I made my own. I mean, there were those zines from the website that I did print out, and it's cool, but could be more. And so I made more. I made there be a Sludge Life art book, a one of a kind. Not in print, my own, my precious Sludge Life art book. And same with the video. I want there to be an epic, hugely, wildly, unnecessarily long video just about Sludge Life, talking about it, about just looking at it and looking at the art of it and experiencing it and what it means to me. Because it does mean to, I know it sounds silly, it's just a little game about whatever. It's a game about piss and shit, and there's some graffiti in it also. But after Jet Set Radio Future, I know I've expressed this before, but I just feel like talking about it. So you can shut up and listen or go do something else. After Jet Set Radio Future, I felt a longing for something else like that, because Jet Set Radio Future was so important to me at a very specific time in my life. And it's a hole that I had not been able to fill since. And then there was Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, and I thought, this is it. This is the new Jet Set Radio Future for me. But it just wasn't. It just wasn't the same. Because I'm not the same. I'm different. I'm a different person to the person I was when Jet Set Radio Future was a thing for me, when it was so important to me. And so it stands to reason that I need a different thing to fill that hole. The hole is a different shape because the hole has changed as I have changed. The hole that Jet Set Radio Future left. And so Sludge Life comes along, and if I did not at all intend to talk about Sludge Life for this long, I do apologise for that. All of that is to say, I genuinely want to, at some point, make a ridiculously, unnecessarily long video all about Sludge. And I think there's no way to really know this, but it's something I have sort of thought about before and spoken about my thoughts about before, is I think if a video is ridiculously long, I think a lot of people watch it or at least click on it, if nothing else, just out of curiosity. Because some of my most viewed videos are just the nonsensically long ones. And I'm fairly certain people don't actually sit and watch all of them. Some people have told me they do, which is, very odd people. But then I'm an odd person, and therefore the people who like my shit are odd people, which is fair, and I'm glad for that. Again, I appreciate you all. I'm glad you all exist. Where would we be without each other, quite literally? But I think, like, if I can sit here and go, who wants to watch a 6-hour video about Sludge Life? Potentially a lot of people, because I think people appreciate that someone is willing to make videos like that on some level. They're like, I know I am. When I see a new video pop up by someone who's made, a legitimately like 6 or 7 hour video talking about a film I like, I'm like, fucking yes. God bless that person for having that in them to make shit like that, to make that shit happen, to put that into the world, to make that exist, which they literally did. That video didn't exist before. Because sometimes people make videos that already exist and they make them and it's the same as everything else, but they're following, a system and they make money from it and it's whatever. Sometimes people make videos that just did not exist before, and you really have to appreciate that people do that. They generate something out of nothing, and now this thing exists in the world because of that person, and I have a huge appreciation for that. And that's one of the reasons I love art, and I follow a lot of artists, or even just people who draw, who might not be considered like good artists. I've known even people I've been associated with that would look at some of these people's work and talk ill of it and be like, this is shit. Why would you bother following this person? Their art's shit. And like, the quality of the art isn't always the thing. It's the fact that it exists. I'm following this person because they make shit. Because I legitimately love the fact that they are making stuff exist out of nothing. They are putting art into the world and showing it and going, look, here I have made art. Look at this art I have made. Because a lot of people talk a lot. They talk a big game. They talk about doing this and that, and then just never do the thing. And so when I see somebody that does the thing, however good or bad it might be, I have a huge love and appreciation for that. And that's one of the reasons I sort of like have tried to sort of limit negative talk a bit more in recent years, because it's so easy to like talk shit about stuff. I think it's okay to talk shit about big creators who have already made their living and are now just coasting through life, you know, based on their name. I think it's all right to talk shit about them because fuck them, they're fine. They'll be okay. They're not going to suffer because I went, oh, shit. But when it's like lesser known people, up and coming people, people that are trying, people that are doing the shit, putting in the work to make shit happen, I have a huge appreciation for that. It's called punching up versus punching down. It's what, you know, like comedians, when they make fun of trans people instead of the people who are actually legitimately ruining the world, which are very much not trans people, by the way, just so we're clear. One of my favourite parts of 28 Days Later is when the gang, they all get to the army outpost and the army's not there and they're looking around and they're all frustrated. And the not particularly brilliantly acted Hannah is going, I don't understand. Where is everybody? Not quite like that. I was being a bit of a dick with that. But and then they're all like, oh fuck, what do we do? Where is everyone? What's the because they had the broadcast from the army and they were like, salvation is here. That's what it said in the broadcast. They were fuck, okay, let's go to there. They've given us the coordinates. Let's find them. Hopefully there's a cure, there's help, there's something. Let's go to there. And then they go to there and there's no one. It looks abandoned, even recently abandoned. Fuck, what do they do? And they figure like it doesn't look good. They should probably cut their losses and leave. And then Frank, I think that's his name, Frank, the dad, he goes, we have to go. And I think Selena goes, yeah. And then Frank goes, go fucking where? I really like that bit. I just, the delivery of that line is so good. It's so fucking good. So fucking good. Go fucking where? Like off the back of we have to go. Like he's at least somewhat calm-ish in that line delivery of like, this isn't good, we have to go. And I'm like, yeah, we have to go. And then he says, go fucking where? Because they were basically out of options at that point. But just that line delivery is like, oh, chef's kiss. Mwah. Fucking golden globe, golden statue, Oscar-worthy line delivery. But I was thinking about this recently. Anytime throughout any previous episodes, any forthcoming episodes, any current episodes, videos, whatever, if I ever say I was recently thinking about, what you can do in your head is replace thinking about with talking to myself about. Because I've already had this whole, everything I'm saying now, I've already said to myself in my kitchen, in my room, out loud, maybe several times over. Go fucking where? Oh, because he's like there. I need because they're at the army checkpoint. And he don't know. Oh, we have to go. Yeah, go fucking where? I don't understand. And then the blood and the with the body and the crow and the blood in his eye, and he goes, Hannah, I love you very much. What? Stay away! Stay away! Stay away! Jimmy's infected! Dad, kill him! Kill him! And then the fucking army show up and then stay away from the body! Go fucking where? Such a good delivery of that line, man. So I was thinking about that recently. by which I mean talking to myself for no reason. And it got me thinking about good swears versus bad swears in like films, shows, whatever. Because there's a few good ones. Because there's one I've said before in Deadwood when Charlie Udder knows that guy has killed a prostitute. I think at that point he knows he's killed a prostitute or has at least like beaten one up or something. And then he's behind the guy in the breakfast line and he's just like saying shit to him and goading him on. And the guy's like, "Do you think ill of me, sir? Something, or you may have a wrong opinion of me, sir." And then Charlie Udder's like, "I'm a pretty good judge of character, and you are a fucking cunt." And it's just that like, oh, yes. I didn't even do it justice then, but it's such a well delivered line. And not just the use of the word cunt. Ah, he said the cunt word. That's funny. I like it. I like it when people say cunt. But it's the delivery and the intent with which he says it. He's like, because he fucking means it. He's not just being like me going, "Oh, cunt, cunt, cunt. I'm a cunt. You're a cunt. Cunty, cunt, and cunty. We're the cunts from Cunt TV. 1, 2, 3. Look up Tots TV. Tiny Tots, Tots TV. The theme song from that is a British thing. It's funny. It will be funny if you replace the word with cunt, if you see it. But he fucking means it, because he knows that this guy is a piece of shit who like treats women not treats women as property, but treats women as garbage that he can just pick up and literally throw their lives away at his own will. And so he's like, "Fuck you. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and you are a fucking cunt." And then he takes him outside and beats the shit out of him. Good on him for that. And that's so that is about as far as I've thought about it, because it did make me wonder, like, there's got to be, or it might be worth putting together like a compilation of like good swears in films versus bad swears in films. I can't think of any. I didn't give it too much time and too much thought, but I can't think of any like particular examples of bad swears. But I know they are. There's so many films where they say like fucking every other line. "Yo, you fucking talk to me like that, you fucking piece of shit, fuck you," where it just feels forced. It feels like they're just trying to make like an edgy film. And I think maybe the reason I can't think of any examples in particular is because I've got such good taste that I just don't watch shit films like that. I only watch really good films with really good like writing and acting, and therefore have good swears in them as opposed to bad swears. But you know, if you have any examples you can think of, and I'm not doing this to like engagement farm or anything, you know, if in general, if people leave comments or they don't, it's whatever. You know, it's nice to receive them, but if people don't feel like commenting on my videos, it's fine. I don't ask for, you know, like, comment and subscribe. Kill yourself. No, don't. That's bad. But my point is, legitimately, if you can think of any particular examples of good or bad swears in films or shows, I would actually like to know about them. I likely won't make a compilation video because it's a nice idea, but it's a lot of work to do something like that. I'm also still bummed about, I made a compilation of every time they said "God damn it" in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I went through every episode and edited, like took out all the clips of them saying "God damn it" for like 10 seasons or something. And only then did I think to check if anyone had already made that video, and they had. That video already existed, and there was just, for me to make that video was just so worthless because someone already did it. Not just since then, but that's a very good example of like making these kinds of videos. It can be a fun idea, but in practice it's a lot of work and someone else has probably done it already. Anyway, all of that is to say, if you do have examples or can think of examples of particularly good or bad swears in films or shows, I would actually like to see them. If nothing else, just to sort of have seen them. And maybe I'll make mention of them at some point somewhere, but I'd be interested to know if there's good or bad swears. And I feel like I've given a couple of pretty good examples of good swears. Go fucking where? Right now I'm trying to think of like, can I think of any like particularly bad swears where it just sounds forced and it doesn't sound natural. It sounds like they're swearing to swear. Oh, it's an R-rated film. We can swear. Yeah, let's do a swear. Recently, I looked at this a couple of weeks ago at some of the I almost said Bisley. That would have made me look fucking stupid, wouldn't it? What a stupid moron fucking idiot face I am. Fabry. I was looking at this and I was going, with the stretching of the fucking shit and the I really like it. It's really good. And I just wanted to look at more of it. I'm gonna have a little look at the Fabry of it all, the Fabry slaying, especially these black and white pages. I really like. Almost certainly somewhat inspirational to my own black and white pages in my own comics featuring black and white pages. It is difficult because you really do have to draw and color with like tone. I don't know if you saw what my hands were doing here. I was just rolling up a bogey that I just plucked out of my nose and then I threw it in the bin. So I was a little bit distracted by that, because I've said this before, but a lot of times in comics, it's not the best way to do things, but with like hand painting, especially, I differentiate certain characters and backgrounds by colors. They look different enough because of the colors. But then if you like put it in Photoshop and desaturate it so it's all just grayscale, it looks almost just like a flat plane because it's all the same tone. So when you're painting in black and white, it really forces you to focus on tone and contrast. So you've got the darker figures with a white background, that sort of thing, but applied throughout. So it's an interesting I can't think of the word, like a thing you do to practice, an interesting thing to practice. I don't know, I can't think of the fucking word because I'm stupid in my brain. Yeah, I can't think of shit. It's something that worth paying attention to. And really, I mean, any painting anywhere ever. Not a lot, but there's certain kinds of paintings that people do where they paint like this. They paint like either like a brown or a grey underpainting where they paint in just like this, all the tone, and then they use coloured glazes on top of that and work over that with, rendering and highlighting and stuff. Because it gives you the base of like the tone of your piece, the lights and the darks, shadows and highlights and whatever, and then you add in the colours. So it builds a foundation of tone that you can then build upon to paint your fucking pictures. Exercise. That's the word I was looking for before. It's a good exercise to practice painting in tone as opposed to colour and such. Not my favourite painting of a dragon that I ever saw. Not to criticize a long-time professional artist or anything, but that's not my favorite dragon. Maybe that's not where Fabry's strengths lie. That cover's fucking great. Love that. Et moi, et moi. A little cartoony face in the corner. It's really cool. This dragon, not so much. The anatomy is like a given, but Fabry is really, really good for facial expressions. You can see a lot of him in them as well. Like if you've met him or you've seen him talk, can have quite an expressive face. And he clearly is like in a mirror or using photos of his own face, making all these expressions to like really get them. But he anyone can draw themselves making a face or whatever, or take from a photo or reference, whatever. But to really give that feeling in a drawing or painting like these, he does it in such a way that it's good. And that's all I have to say about that. Oh, I might actually I've had issues with my videos being flagged for adult content recently. So I need to be a bit careful of that kind of shit. This was in that book, Anatomy for Fantasy Artists by Glenn Fabry. This picture of Slain. And so it's like burned into my skull because I think that book was the first I ever saw Glenn Fabry's work. And I remember looking at this, not understanding even that it was a painting, that like a person could paint like that. It was so long ago that I first had that book. But now, having learned what I've learned and what I do, again, realizing this is a painting, but still just being blown away by it, before I was amazed by it just because it's a cool picture, but now I'm amazed by it by the skill that I know it takes to paint like that. Fucking ridiculous. I do like, as I pointed out whenever I look at Bisley's work, you get pages like this where he's clearly spent like a whole day, if not days, solid painting and rendering bodies and flesh and the stretching of muscles and the lines of action. Fucking incredible anatomy and just the image, the light and the dark, and just amazing picture right there. This one's really fucking good. Just badass warrior Slain being fucking great. And the contrast between those and then pages like this where he's just like, okay, it's people talking, get it done, get it out of the way. Silhouette, 2 colours, some white spray paint, a bit of ink. Easy. Not even rendering on most of this stuff. It's just like 1 layer of paint for the red, for the grey on the helmet, a tiny bit of rendering on some of the skin, and then just like really heavily painterly backgrounds. Just get these pages done. Little minor details and highlights, but mostly just whatever, get them done so that you can spend more time on shit like this. Somebody did mention, I think in the comments, when I was talking about Fabry's Judge Dredd Batman comic, and then some of the art is like Fabry and Jim Murray drawing / painting, and I wondered about how or why that came about. Somebody said apparently Glenn Fabry maybe was known to take a long time getting some of his work done, and so he just sort of did some of it and then had to hand it off to someone else because there wasn't time for him to finish it. Which, I mean, when you're painting like this in a comic book, this is a comic book with paintings like this in it. Like, yeah, it takes time to fucking look at that. Look how phenomenal that is. That's fantastic, just like shape and everything. But the anatomy, the rendering of like the skin and the muscles and everything. And like the hairy parts of him, and just veins and creases and whatever, just absolutely fucking bananas. That's in a comic book. It's not just like a drawing of a guy. Like that, if that was on a book cover, like one of those old fantasy novels or something, that would look completely like where it's supposed to be. But it's just a panel on a page of a comic in amongst all the rest of it. Shit like this exists is absolutely ridiculous. I love this blue guy. I've not read this once, so I've no fucking idea who he is, what he is. But I love blue skin on characters. Like if it was like a Smurf comic painted like this, that would be kind of neat. Actually, I might have to do a few pages of that just to see how it would look. But if everyone had blue skin, it would be whatever. But to suddenly have a character with blue skin, there's just something about it that I'm really like, ooh, I like that. I had that in Zach Ridley in the art I did for that. Had a blue character. Well, there's a couple of blue characters, but mainly one blue character, at least at a time. And it's fun to paint like a bunch of skin, but then have blue for the skin color. And then rendering blue skin feels really nice. There's something about it, and it looks cool, especially with like the shadowing, that like the heavy lighting on top and then heavily shadowed underneath, the way he's painted it here, especially here as well. It's very, very not just impressive in terms of art and painting and stuff, but really fun and interesting to look at. A cannibal cult, yay! Although in light of recent files being released about certain people, cannibal cults suddenly don't feel quite so fun and frivolous as they once maybe did. My plan was to just quickly flip through some of the Fabry art and just go, look, isn't Glenn Fabry fucking fantastic? I mean, look at this. Just a comic book panel, and it's just, I mean, it's obviously not as lavishly rendered as, you know, a Baroque or a Renaissance painting that you'd hang on a wall, but if that was hanging above a fireplace, you'd read it completely as a grand painting that somebody has made to hang above a fireplace. Because that's where art goes, just above fireplaces. That's a really, really nice, like, it's a badass thing to have happen. The blue guy shoves a knife in this guy's mouth out the back of his head. It's just harsh and nasty, and his evil face in the background there. But so well, like, realized in paint, with like the drip of blood here and the splats and stuff. The creases in the face, those are something to take into account, where like the head bends down, so all the flesh compresses together and creases up. Because you don't necessarily think about that if you're going to draw someone like with their head looking down, like tilted downwards. You might just draw the head tilted. But you've got to keep in mind, like, he might not have a double chin per se, but there is flesh under there that will compress and will give these creases and things, which just goes to, you know, show that Fabry has that knowledge of anatomy, not just to include those creases and wrinkles, but to like render them so believably. It's very, very good to see. I like to see it in a comic books. I think this is someone else's art. It might be Dermot Power, I think, because this is no longer Fabry art. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go, well, yeah, there's Bisley and there's Fabry. Yeah, Dermot Power. But there's other really good art out there by other artists, which I have legitimately done before, where I skip over anyone who's not Bisley, Fabry, Murray, whatever. The usual people that I spend time looking at. I like the Wicker Man. That's a really nice page, just overall. I think these panels could be a bit more, I don't know, interesting or spaced better. it feels a bit odd, the placement of those. But I'm not, criticizing or complaining. I'm just saying how it feels to look at this page. But overall, it's a wonderful page. The Wicker Man, the colouring of the backgrounds, the fading in and out of the different fields and whatever, the figures in the foreground and all. Also mirrored really nicely with this page here, actually, the Wicker Man there. This panel feeds into this panel really nicely. Very well done. That's cool. That would be a pain in the arse to draw. Like, even if their shields were plain, like they sort of are on the top, all of the details, the ornate carvings and shit in those shields. The shield wall, or whatever they call it. The testudo, or tortoise formation. Battle scenes are always a pain in the bollocks to draw and paint. Well, a pain in the bollocks to draw, let alone paint. And the main issue is, for me, these have fairly limited colours, but like that green is a separate colour that needs to be mixed. This flesh with several tones each bit needs to be mixed. The reds, the brass, the copper, the white, the blue. Each individual colour has to be, if it's not fresh out the tube, has to be mixed, gotten to a good consistency, watered down, and then a few layers of rendering, highlighting, whatever. That's what takes time, is often just finicky little details that's each an individual colour that needs to be fucking put down on the goddamn. That's what I say anyway. So there's that, and there's, it's all very good. And I like the worm, the cosmic worm, the bloody maggot who sucks on the life force of mortals, savouring their anger, fear, and pain as food for those who truly control human destiny. Some good monsters and shit. I could prefer this dragon to the previous Fabry dragon we looked at. There's some really cool warp spasm poses. That's a good one. It's like Conan the Barbarian artwork or something. But then I have this book, which has no Glenn Fabry and no Simon Bisley in it at all. You might think, why do I even own that book? Well, because it's got a good fucking artwork. Dermot Power. I've evidently been aware of his work because I have books that contain his work, but have obviously never really given him much time. Certainly not like on the podcast or whatever. But look at that. Fucking look at that shit. All the detail in that helmet is ridiculous. It looks really good as well. The way it's got like obviously like a red underpainting with these metallic colours painted on top gives it such a really nice like glow effect. But like it looks more metallic because you do get the metals that have like a reddish brass kind of hue to them, where the top gets burnished and sort of rubbed away, and then it leaves the indentations with that more colourful metal underneath, and it looks like that. It's really fucking good. Really fucking impressive. For 1994 as well. That's fucking incredible. As is that. And it makes sense. You've got, a few panels with not much going on, and if you can see, there's like very little paint used here, just a couple of layers. Same here, the shadows is pretty much all the underpainting with the blue painted on top to sort of carve the shapes out, and then a few details just to highlight little bits. But that's largely just a dark underpainting with some paint on top. But then you get this really nicely rendered face and helmet here. This fucking incredible pose, incredible rendering on all the different armor pieces. Turquoise and greens in some of the armor, which makes sense because it's like that brass copper kind of tone. The chainmail detail is really, really good. Some like silver metals, some of the more brass metals. The strong pose, the cape blowing in the wind. That's a fucking fantastic panel. People talking, people talking, people talking. Get those panels and pages out of the way. A really good sort of spread of textures and techniques in this work. So you've got the few like really heavily rendered, detailed pieces. Some like still very well painted, well rendered, but obviously painted heavier and quicker panels. This, I guess it's like a flashback or something, in almost like a sepia tone. Lots of heavy shadows, heavy contrast, slightly more minimal paint, but still, you know, a decent amount going on. Some landscape with a few heavy paints, some of the underpainting showing through, a few details, but not too much. These carvings, which I think stuff like this can be really fun to paint, where you're like painting around a drawing on a wall, and you've got the texture of the wall and the lighting from the torch. Like that's really nice. And this feels different to this, which feels different to this, which feels different to this, which feels different to this, but it's all part of the same thing, which is really cool. And then this, with like the flowers and stuff, almost look like stained glass, the way they've got fairly heavy black, not outlines, but black spaces around them, which look like, you know, the lead outlines in stained glass. And she's painted in a similar way, but then you've got this dragon thing in front, which looks a bit more naturalistically rendered. Which I don't say that to be like, this looks too different to this. Like, it looks different, it's painted differently. Maybe there's a reason for it, maybe it's not. But either way, I love it. I think it's a fantastic mix of like textures and techniques. And this sort of simply painted in background, leaving gaps in the paint for the underpainting to show through, to leave the details of branches and things. Yeah, so it's a really very nice, very interesting mix of techniques. Some of it, it's difficult to say, because I can look at this and I go, oh, this looks a lot like, you know, The Horned God by Slane, like by Bisley, who is basically Slane in his books. Like the technique used to make the texture in the sky is really similar, like almost identical to some of Bisley's water textures in Horned God, and the dragons look really similar. But then, like, it's the same story, it's the same setting, it's the same characters. And if you're going to hand paint a comic in 2000 AD in the 90s, it's almost unavoidable that your shit is going to look like Bisley's. Like, you have to do something pretty drastically different to really, really separate yourself from Bisley entirely. And if you're being that drastically different, they probably wouldn't want you making work for their comics, because why would they? They have an IP to uphold. But yeah, some really great use of more toned down colors. Like, he sort of seems to have a really good eye for when to use like really strong, vibrant, saturated colors here, like very heavy reds and yellows and blues, the greens and turquoises and stuff. Very rich colors in these panels. But then pages like this, where it all feels much more muted. It's obviously a nighttime scene with the moon in the background. The Stonehenge sort of things picked out very nicely in the background there. Heavy shadows again. But yeah, just the toned down colours really sort of... It feels good not to have the same vibrant colours every page. It's nice. Oh, really like this. Another one that just take a fucking... just days. It's not even like heavily rendered, but there's enough going on that it would just be so like painstaking to get all of this painted, to add in the textures in the grass and the clothing and the bodies and the thing and the weapons. It's a lot, and it's done really well. I appreciate it. A horse, like a horse. This is really interesting. These chess pieces look really good. Obviously, I don't know. I can only assume, but it looks like this might be Dermot Power's kid or something, because there's a very, very visible difference from like faces that he's doing on his own, out of his own head. Just guys, faces of men, people, just faces. He might be using reference, but they look like he's just, you know, painting man's head, whereas this is clearly a referenced portrait of an existing person. There's no way that's out of his head compared with, you know, the rest of the comic. It might be. I say that with no information, no actual knowledge, no research, but it appears to me that this is very clearly an actual kid. But I don't say that to detract from it, because good on him. It looks good. It's a brilliant page and panel. And again, I think they're chess pieces or toys or whatever they are. Really, really nicely realised. Yeah, just very interesting visually. I like it. I think it's really good. I don't know if I've got much else to say other than just looking through this going, this is good, that's good, I like this, I like that. But also, I'm doing what I should do more of, which is look at more artists. Because I absolutely do stick to like the few artists that I like, and I look at their work over and over and over again, and nobody else's. I literally skip over other artists' work, however good they might be, if they're not the very specific artists that I happen to be wanting to look at. This is more stuff that looks very, very much like Bisley's work. Again, basically unavoidable, but I don't say that in a bad way, because really fucking great panels. These fighting scenes are fantastic as well. The smaller paintings of bodies being all stabbed and chopped up. There's a hand. But yeah, the armor and shields and weapons in this panel are just fantastic. Like, that's another one that could be you know, video game box artwork, book cover artwork, poster artwork. That would make a cool thing to go on a t-shirt. Just warriors and shit. There's some fucking good art out there. I like this green guy. I remember looking through this comic years ago now, I guess, and being very intrigued by this three-armed green head thing. Oh, that's cool. That looks like a D&D character portrait kind of thing, doesn't it? Very cool armor and shit. I like this. I like the textures in this. And they're ever so slightly different tones in the coins, showing light hitting him at different angles because they are tilted here and there. The textures in his clothing, as I've mentioned times and times before, not strictly incredibly realistic rendering of cloth, but like lines and creases enough that it reads well enough as cloth and fur and wraps. And yeah, I like the pose, I like the colors, I like the textures. And that's all I'm going to thing about thing. I don't quite know what this colour is. It's supposed to be between like purple and brown. but I think it's just come out brown, which is not quite what I was going for. I can throw some purple in on top to sort that out, I think, and it should be fine. But I just wanted to get a background in on this piece just to sort of get it to a point where it's almost feeling finished, which is this what I like to do sometimes. I believe I've spoken about that with paintings before. Sometimes, like, the background is one of the very last things I'll do. Like, once the focal point, the character is done, then I'll do the background, and then outlines, details, and whatever, and call it done. But before a piece is finished, sometimes it can be good, I find, to like get the background in or whatever. Just sort of, it blocks out the shapes a bit better. It makes it feel almost like a finished piece, because this one is almost finished, and once the background is done, there really won't be too much else that needs doing. It will just be a few details, the hair, gun, some of the armor and stuff, but it's the smaller parts that need to get done. And once that's done, then it's fucking done. But what the hell is this? I could talk about, oh, this is almost done, but what even is it? Is it just some random picture of some random broad with a gun and a tank girl hairstyle and fashion sense? Almost, yes. I don't know if the person that commissioned it would prefer me to not give details of what it's for. It's for a thing. It's not like a major thing, but it's for something. So I don't know if I've got carte blanche to just talk about it and share it. But I can say I've been commissioned to paint a few, like, the brief I was given was sort of Mad Max style post-apocalypse warrior girl women type things, and this is one of them. They're like in shooty games. Overwatch. I've been playing Overwatch. I should talk about that at some point. Where you have a tank and a DPS and a healer or a support person. It's sort of like that. They want me to do that, basically. A warrior type woman that's a tank and a DPS and a support, in looking like, you know, Mad Max style post-apocalypse kind of vibes. So that's what I'm going for, and I feel like I've done quite well with that one. I've also done another. This is the DPS of those, which is, in case you aren't aware, I was only really aware fairly recently, so I'm not claiming to have huge knowledge about this that you don't have. DPS is damage per second, so that's the member of the team who is just literally that. Fast guns, fast moving, get them out, as much damage as possible in as little a time as possible. The tanks is bigger and slower, and they're meant to like soak up damage from the other team to allow the DPS to last as long as possible, getting the maximum amount of damage out as possible. And then the healers or support are literally that, to better enable the other members of the team to continue soaking up and dealing out damage by keeping them alive. That's literally how that works. And again, that sort of thing sounds obvious, and maybe you play these kinds of games and you know, and I sound like I'm being patronizing by telling you what those are. But like I say, I only mentioned that because until fairly recently, I was relatively ignorant to that. Like tank sort of goes without saying, although I think initially I thought tanks were meant to do like maximum damage, just big heavy guns and fucking. But I have learned recently that no, actually they're meant to basically, obviously do damage, but soak up damage and be a target for the other team to allow your team to do their thing. Or something. So now I have a slightly better knowledge of those things, which allows me to do a better job at designing characters of those kinds of roles, which, you know, for all of my minimum effort talk, and I never research anything, I never know anything. I didn't directly try to research these things specifically, but it just so happens I kind of have done, and it's been very useful to me. This is the tank. Oh, look at her. She's fucking doesn't even have guns. It wasn't specified in the brief that they should have guns or anything, so I didn't give her any. I thought she looks pretty fucking tanky enough without them. Look, she's tit out. I might get... Fuck. That's another thing that might get me flagged for goddamn adult content. Ugh. Probably not. There's no nipples. It should be fine. It should be fine on that one. It should be fine. And so I started painting this one, and it was, as has happened several times before, I get like a bunch of the way through it, and I'm like, I could be doing this on the podcast. Because sometimes for the podcast, I flounder, and I get flustered thinking like, oh God, what can I draw on the podcast? Like, I could just literally sit and draw. I could have just like literally a sketchbook session on the podcast. Let's just hang out and draw. Let's fill in the gaps in my sketchbook. I've done that multiple times. I could do a thing. I could make something, do something. There's many things I could do, but sometimes I get like stuck because I'm like, I want to do something specific. I want to have like a thing to work on the podcast. I want to have like a goal on the podcast, something I'm actually working on that will be a thing when it's finished. And sometimes I don't always have that, so I have to try to come up with something. But then sometimes I'll be working on something like this, and it will take me some time to realize that like that's the thing. You want something to work on that will turn into something eventually from the podcast. You're working on it right now. So I had, the skin and stuff on her done, and then I realized, I could turn this into podcast content. That's what it all is, really. Why am I wasting this, not recording it, when I could be turning it into a podcast episode? I could use it for content. Why am I wasting my fucking time and effort and resources like an idiot when I could not be doing that? And so now I'm doing that. I don't know if these are supposed to have names. I think they're for a card game. I don't know. Again, I don't know how much I'm supposed to just share or say. They're probably fine with me talking about it. But it's always difficult to know with these kinds of things, because if people are using things for like a book cover or a card game or whatever, they might not necessarily want it all out there right away. So I don't want to just talk about it. So I don't know if these ladies have names picked out already. They might do. They might have even shown me that, and I just chose to ignore it. But I like them so far. I don't know if these are, even my designs are even quite as sexy as the client was hoping for. Because like my tank, to me, she's very, very sexy, but like she's got what might be considered in some circles manly features. She's got a very square jaw and head. She's very rough and rugged. Quite a bulky nose and a bulky just, look to her in general. But to me, she's very sexy. She's very strong and sexy in that kind of way. But I don't know if maybe the person that commissioned it was hoping for more like obviously sexy, like Lara Croft kind of stuff. And this one again, it's got under boob. That's very sexy. There's going to be fishnet on this leg. Like half of the trousers are torn away, but there's going to be fishnet, so it will look a bit more punk, a bit more post-apocalyptic-y. And again, I feel like she's very sexy, but not in a way that's like... I think that's sort of what I'm trying to do with these pieces, is make them sexy, but not in a way that they're trying to be sexy. Like they're not dressing purposely evocative or whatever. I mean, the tank having her tit out is maybe a little bit that. But in a way that they happen to be sexy based on sort of who they are and what they're doing and how they're carrying themselves. Like she's clearly she's got a crop top on or whatever. The neck looks a bit fucky, by the way. I'm aware of that. That's going to be fixed with outlines and stuff. So don't worry about it. You could look at her with her under boob showing and think, oh, she's clearly showing that off, but she's not. She lives in like a desert wasteland where it's all war and guns and fighting, and she's just wearing a torn shirt and not many layers because it's going to be hot and stuff. She wants to be able to move around without worrying about shit. She might be wearing like pasties over her nipples to cover that. Maybe she's not. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I think she's sexy because of the character she is rather than the character's designed to be sexy. There's a difference. Like anime versions of Greek gods that have massive tits and skimpy little outfits and like maybe one or two vague references to the actual Greek god that they're based on. Those are designed to be sexy. That's the point. Whereas this isn't designed in that kind of way. Like, because I could give her huge boobs and a massive cleavage. I could really emphasize the rendering on her tits to make them look glossy and bouncy. But, she's got fairly, not small, but, modestly sized boobs for her frame. And they're just peeking out under her shirt. And she's obviously, she's going to have a safety pin earring. She's got a tank girl punk haircut. Guns and cigarettes, fishnets will be here. And so she's a badass and she's sexy because of that. She's not trying to be some fucking sex doll or something. And I know this is stuff that you all know already. It makes sense. And I'm explaining it 8 different times in very similar ways. But again, I just want to make sure that I'm getting my point across. I just want to make sure there's no confusion in something. Background could do with a little bit more blending, couldn't it? The purple to brown blend didn't necessarily go exactly as I hoped it might. Blending colours is hard though, so fucking